So, a phrase you have undoubtedly heard me say before. The transfer portal taketh, but the transfer portal also giveth. And today, we need to talk about the latest addition that the Alabama Crimson Tide got out the transfer portal in former UAB safety Jaylen Key, and why this was a spectacular addition. Before we can, as always, y'all know the drill. I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Are you excited that Alabama gets Jaylen Key? And let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below, as those interactions seem small. They are massive to content creators such as myself, and both getting picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And this is something we talked about not long ago when Alabama pulled Trey Amos out the transfer portal, that defensive back position group was an area where I wasn't going to be totally surprised if Alabama visited the transfer portal for several different reasons. First and foremost, if we focus in at the cornerback position, there were several guys who tested the portal from Alabama that were going to be big depth pieces. And secondly, whenever we look at the safety position, both the former starting safeties for the Crimson Tide now find their way to the NFL. So Alabama, though talent is in the room, they just don't have the experience at the position. So it makes sense whenever you see a Jaylen Key test the transfer portal, someone who was so hyper-productive for UAB just a season ago. Someone who tallied over 60 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 3 interceptions. That's the type of production that you love to try and get out the transfer portal, and especially when you look, and one of the presumptive starters on that back end is going to be true freshman Caleb Downs. And though I think Caleb Downs is going to be spectacular, this is a secret I have made a terrible job of hiding. Ever since he committed to Alabama, I have made my opinion very known. Getting a guy like Jaylen Key to put next to Caleb Downs, someone that has that level of experience, that's going to be positive for everybody in the room. It's going to be positive for Jaylen Key that he gets to play with someone like Caleb Downs next to him. It's going to be positive for Caleb Downs, who gets to play with an experienced safety who has actual game action in Jaylen Key. Because one thing we talk about all the time, whenever we're talking about what the transfer portal allows, I always highlight experience. And the reason that's such a big deal is because it's one thing to be taught something. You can sit in a classroom, you can have someone lecture to you, but until you go out there and do it, it's kind of hard to take those lessons and apply it. But at the point where you've gone out, you've played a season in college football, now you go back into those lectures. You take those lessons and you can apply them because you're thinking to yourself, okay, I've been in that situation. I know exactly where this lesson comes into play. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's the experience that the transfer portal allows you to get. Now, that being said, we've seen time and time again true freshmen come in and make a difference in college football. I'm not trying to say that lack of experience is a guaranteed metric of someone not being able to make the transition. My point here is that if you can have experience and put that next to the guy you think is going to be a superstar but he's young, you take that every single time. And for Alabama's defense, this just shows that they're shoring up some things. Wherever we look, at any level of this defense, up front, in the middle, and in the secondary, I think there's reasons for excitement for Alabama fans. If we look at the defensive front, there are several names that I am really fired up to see. James Smith is someone that's been turning heads in the camp, a true freshman, but that's exactly what Alabama fans needed to hear. On top of that, you have Otis, someone who I've been saying for quite some time, I think he's going to be in for a big, big season. He was a big piece of this Alabama defense as a true freshman. Now that he has experience, I think he's going to really boom. And a name that is just super positive that Alabama gets back is Justin Eboigbe, someone who probably was off to the best season in terms of any of the interior defensive linemen guys to start off last season, but an injury derailed that. It sidelined him. Now you get him back, and if he comes back fully healthy and picks up where he left off last season, that defensive front is going to be a lot of fun. Now, I get it. You have to replace Will Anderson, but Dallas Turner is still on one side now, and that's going to be a guy that I think is going to go in the first round. So you still have a first-round edge. Then you have Chris Braswell. You have Cott. You have so many guys that can play that other position. I think Alabama is feeling very, very comfortable, and Keon Keeley hasn't even stepped on campus yet. At the inside linebacker position, talk about another position battle that's going to be so much fun to watch. One we've talked about. Deontay Lawson seems to be the inside linebacker at one of those spots. Who's going to take the other one? That's the question. Is it going to be Jahad Campbell? Is it going to be Justin Jefferson, Tresman Marshall? There are so many different ways we could go. Kendrick Blackshire, Sean Murphy. This is going to be a fun battle to watch, but the talent is there. And I think Alabama fans are excited because there seems to be a level of ferocity from that position that they've been craving for quite some time, which gets us into the secondary. And I've talked about this time and time again. Whenever you start doing some theory crafting for this Alabama secondary, it gets really exciting. Whenever we start looking at who the presumptive starters at cornerback could be, I think there's a lot of ability there. And especially when we look at safety. I love the ability Caleb Downs brings to the table, and even outside of Caleb Downs, even outside of Jaylen Key, you look at a Malachi Moore, someone who has experience. You look at a Christian Story, someone who I think has got tremendous upside. This safety room is now going to be better with the addition of Jaylen Key because now they have someone with experience pushing the rest of the room. And personally, I think that's going to be a compelling factor. I'm super interested in hearing from all of you. I think this is a great addition for Alabama, but I can't wait to hear from all of you. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See you.